3 women, 1 test, a billionaire's unlimited credit card. But it was the quiet housekeeper's choices that would shatter everything he thought he knew about love, loyalty, and what truly matters in life. Hello family, welcome back to Soulful Chronicles. If you're new here, we share powerful true-to-life stories that touch the heart and inspire the soul. Please hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our weekly stories. Also, drop a like if you believe in the power of genuine kindness. It really helps us reach more people who need to hear these messages. Now, let's dive into today's incredible story. The morning sun painted the Atlanta skyline in shades of amber and gold, casting long shadows through the floor-to-ceiling windows of the penthouse. Far below, the city hummed with life, traffic crawling along Peachtree Street, business deals closing in glass towers, dreams being chased and broken in equal measure. But up here, 43 floors above it all, everything was still. Marcus Daniels stood before those windows, a steaming cup of black coffee in his hand, his dark brown eyes reflecting the city below. At 42, he was the picture of black excellence, 6'2", athletic build maintained by a personal trainer he rarely had time to see, with close-cropped hair showing distinguished flecks of gray at the temples. He wore custom-tailored Tom Ford, no tie, the first button of his crisp white shirt undone. The watch on his wrist cost more than most people's cars. The world knew him as a genius, a tech mogul who'd built an empire from nothing. His AI-powered financial platform had revolutionized how people invested, saved, and built wealth. Forbes had called him the new face of black tech brilliance. Time magazine featured him in their 40 under 40 before he'd even hit 35. His net worth was estimated at $3.2 billion, and climbing. But standing there, Marcus felt hollow, like a beautiful mansion with all the furniture but no one home. "Mr. Daniels, your car is ready, sir." The voice was soft, almost apologetic for existing. Marcus turned slightly. Grace Thompson stood at the edge of the massive living room, her hands clasped in front of her gray uniform dress. She was maybe 40, with warm brown skin, natural hair pulled back into a neat bun, and kind eyes that seemed to carry the weight of stories untold. She never stepped further into a room than necessary, never assumed permission. "Thank you, Grace," Marcus said with a nod. She disappeared as silently as she'd arrived, like morning mist. Marcus sighed and turned back to the window. He didn't need to go to the office today. His executive team could handle the board meeting. His assistant, Janelle, had already prepared his briefings and scheduled his week down to the minute. His girlfriend, Simone, had sent him a text from her girls' trip in Turks and Caicos, a selfie on a yacht, designer sunglasses, champagne. "Missing you, baby." Kissing face emoji, gemstone emoji. "Wait till you see what I bought for us." 2 hearts emoji. He hadn't replied. He didn't feel missed. He felt like a resource. Like everyone around him was constantly calculating, measuring the value of his time, his connections, his money. Even in love, especially in love, everything felt like a transaction. His phone chimed again. Janelle, his executive assistant, had entered the penthouse without knocking. She moved with purpose, always, Louboutins clicking against marble, tablet in hand, her fitted burgundy dress screaming both professionalism and ambition. "Morning, Marcus. I have your day planned out," she said, not looking up from her screen. "Board meeting at 10, lunch with the Goldman Sachs team at 1, and cancel everything." Janelle's perfectly arched eyebrows shot up. "I'm sorry? Cancel everything? The whole week? The whole?" She finally looked at him. "Marcus, you have investors flying in from. Reschedule. Push it all. And Simone's welcome back dinner on Friday? That too." Janelle studied him with those sharp, calculating eyes. She was brilliant. Howard University, MBA from Wharton, connections in every boardroom that mattered. She'd been with him for 5 years, and in that time, she'd become indispensable. She was also, he'd recently learned, a little too interested in becoming something more. He'd overheard her at a company gala 2 months ago, cocktail in hand, laughing with a girlfriend. "Girl, if I play this right, I could go from assistant to Mrs. Daniels. You know what that means? First lady of tech." That conversation haunted him like a ghost that wouldn't leave. "All right," Janelle finally said, tapping her tablet with practiced efficiency. "I'll handle it. Are you okay?" "I'm fine. Just need to think." She nodded slowly, lingering for a moment as if expecting him to say more. When he didn't, she turned and left, heels echoing down the hallway. Marcus walked to his private study and closed the door. This room was the only space that felt real. Shelves lined with books on philosophy, Malcolm X's autobiography, Baldwin, Morrison, Coates. A framed photo of his late mother sat on the mahogany desk. She'd raised him alone in a small apartment in the West End, working 2 jobs so he could go to Morehouse. She'd died just before he sold his first company. He picked up her photo, her smile forever frozen in time, her eyes full of pride and wisdom. Baby, she used to tell him, marry a woman who builds with you, not just for you. Anybody can spend money, but who's gonna be there when the money's gone? Who's gonna fight for you when the world turns? Marcus set the photo down gently and sank into his leather chair. What good was an empire if he couldn't trust the people in it? Simone was stunning, no question. Every man in every room envied him. But her affection ebbed and flowed with the gifts he gave. When he'd forgotten her birthday last year because of a merger deadline, she'd gone ice cold for a month. When he surprised her with a trip to Paris, she posted 47 Instagram stories and called him the best in every caption. But she never asked about his day. Never asked what kept him up at night. Never asked if he was okay. Janelle was sharp, capable, driven. But she saw him as a ladder to climb, a means to an end. He'd caught her angling for photos with him at events, making sure people knew she was his right hand. She'd even started dressing more expensively, wearing the kind of jewelry that suggested someone was spoiling her, even though he wasn't. Then there was Grace. Quiet, humble Grace. He'd hired her 3 years ago through an agency. She cleaned, cooked occasionally, managed the household staff. She was paid well, very well, with full benefits, bonuses, time off. And yet, she lived with a simplicity that puzzled him. Last year, he'd overheard her on the phone in the kitchen, voice strained, "Mama, I told you, I'm gonna figure it out. The hospital can wait a few more weeks." "No, I'm not asking him. It's not his responsibility. I'll manage." When he'd offered to pay for her mother's surgery, she'd looked at him like he'd offered her the moon and gently refused. "Mr. Daniels, that's very kind, but this is my burden to carry. I'll find a way." Who does that? Who turns down help when they need it? Marcus stared at the notepad on his desk, then picked up a pen and slowly wrote 3 names. Simone, Janelle, Grace. 3 women. 3 completely different relationships. 3 possibilities. He tapped the pen against the desk. The rhythm steady, deliberate. What if he could see who they really were when they thought no one was watching? Strip away the performance, the mask, the game? He picked up his phone and called his head of security. "Jerome, it's Marcus. I need you to do something for me." Discreetly. "Go ahead, boss. I'm going to give 3 women access to my accounts, unlimited. I need full surveillance. Transactions, locations, purchases. Keep it quiet." There was a pause. "You sure about this?" "Yeah. I need to know the truth." "Understood. I'll set it up." Marcus ended the call and leaned back, a long breath escaping. This wasn't about tricking anyone. It wasn't a game. It was survival. He was done being surrounded by people who saw dollar signs when... If there was one woman among them who saw him, the man behind the money, the human beneath the success, he had to know. He stood and walked to the mirror on the wall. His reflection stared back. Polished, powerful, untouchable. But inside? Alone. Not for long, he whispered to himself. If you're enjoying this story so far, do me a favor and hit that like button. And if you haven't subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? We drop powerful stories like this every week. Let's... The night was quiet. Too quiet. Marcus sat alone in his study well past midnight, the glow of a single desk lamp casting shadows across his face. On the desk in front of him sat 3 velvet boxes, deep navy blue, each containing a sleek black card with no logo, no name, just a magnetic strip and unlimited access to his wealth. Next to the boxes were 3 envelopes, each one addressed in silver ink. Simone, Janelle, Grace. He'd thought about this for weeks, turned it over in his mind from every angle. Some might call it manipulative. Maybe it was, but he called it necessary. He was tired of performing, tired of wondering who would still be there if the money disappeared tomorrow. He wanted the truth, raw and unfiltered. Marcus poured himself 2 fingers of Remy Martin, swirled it slowly, and took a sip. The burn was familiar, grounding. He pressed the intercom button on his desk. "Jerome, we ready?" His head of security's voice crackled through. "Yes, sir. Location tracking enabled. All purchases will route through the monitoring system. You'll get updates every few hours. And I've kept the surveillance external only. No cameras in private spaces like you requested." "Good. Let's do this." Marcus leaned back, eyes closed, and let out a long breath. "Tomorrow, everything." Simone. The next morning, Marcus met Simone at the rooftop helipad of his building. She stepped out of a black Escalade in a white jumpsuit that hugged every curve, her honey blonde locks flowing over her shoulders, Chanel sunglasses perched on her nose, phone in hand as always. She smelled like expensive perfume and ambition. "Baby," she squealed, wrapping her arms around his neck and kissing him on the cheek, leaving a lipstick mark. "I missed you." "You just got back 2 days ago," Marcus said, smiling slightly. "I know, but still, 2 days is too long." She pulled back and pouted. "You didn't even like my pictures." "Sorry, I've been busy." She rolled her eyes playfully. "You're always busy." Marcus reached into his jacket and pulled out the first velvet box. "I have something for you." Her eyes lit up instantly. Ooh, what's this? A gift. No strings. 3 days. Spend however you want. Simone opened the box slowly, her perfectly manicured nails glinting in the sunlight. When she saw the black card inside, her mouth fell open. Wait, is this? Unlimited. 3 days. Do whatever makes you happy, baby. She looked up at him, eyes wide, then back at the card. Are you serious right now? Dead serious. She let out a shriek and jumped into his arms. Oh my God. You are the best. I swear, I'm going to make you so proud. I'm sure you will. She pulled out her phone immediately, fingers flying across the screen. Girl, you are not gonna believe what Marcus just gave me, she said into the phone, already walking toward the car. I'm about to shut the city down. Marcus stood there, watching the Escalade disappear down the ramp. She hadn't asked why, hadn't asked if he was okay, hadn't even paused. His chest. Janelle. Later that afternoon, Janelle strode into his office, tablet in one hand, iced coffee in the other. She wore a tailored charcoal pantsuit, hair slicked back into a low bun, gold hoops glinting under the light. All right, she said, setting the tablet down. I cleared your week like you asked, rescheduled the investor calls, pushed the Goldman launch to next Tuesday. Your calendar is completely free. Thank you, Janelle. You always come through. She smiled. Professional. Controlled. That's what I'm here for. Marcus opened his desk drawer and pulled out the second velvet box. I want to give you something. Her eyebrow arched. A bonus? Better. He slid the box across the desk. Janelle opened it slowly, her expression shifting from curiosity to surprise. Marcus, what is this? 3 days. Unlimited spending. Consider it a thank you for everything you do. She stared at the card, then at him. This is incredibly generous. You've earned it. She closed the box carefully, her mind clearly working. Are you sure? Completely. A slow smile spread across her face. Well, thank you. I'll make good use of it. I'm sure you will. She stood, smoothing her blazer. I'll let you get back to whatever you're doing. She paused at the door. You know, Marcus, you don't have to do things like this to show appreciation. I'm already invested. He met her eyes. I know. She left, heels clicking down the hallway. Marcus sat back, fingers steepled under his chin. The way she'd said invested lingered in the air. Grace. That evening, Marcus found Grace in the kitchen, wiping down the counters. She worked with a quiet diligence, humming an old gospel hymn under her breath. The sound was soothing, like a balm on a wound he didn't know was open. She turned, startled. Oh, Mr. Daniels, I'm sorry. I didn't know you were still home. Can I get you anything? No. I actually wanted to give you something. Her brow furrowed with concern. Give me something? Did I forget? No, nothing like that. He walked over and placed the third velvet box on the counter. Grace stared at it like it might explode. What is this? Open it. She hesitated, then slowly lifted the lid. Her eyes widened when she saw the black card inside. Mr. Daniels, I don't understand. It's for you, Grace. 3 days. No limits. Spend it however you want. You deserve it. But she looked genuinely distressed. Sir, I can't accept this. I didn't do anything special. You do something special every day just by being you. She shook her head, closing the box gently. This is too much. I can't. Grace. His voice was firm but kind. I'm not asking you to buy me anything or prove anything. I'm just saying thank you. For everything. Take the 3 days. Do something for yourself. You've earned it. Her eyes glistened. I don't even know what I'd do with it. That's exactly why I'm giving it to you. Just live a little. Please. She looked down at the box in her hands, then back up at him. Are you sure? I'm sure. She nodded slowly, voice barely above a whisper. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Daniels. Marcus? Call me Marcus. A small smile touched her lips. Thank you, Marcus. As she walked away, box held carefully in both hands like something sacred, Marcus felt something stir in his chest. She was the only one who'd hesitated. The only one who'd questioned it. The only one who seemed afraid of it. And that told him everything. Alright, family. If this story is hitting different, go ahead and drop a comment letting me know what you think is about to happen. Who do you think will surprise Marcus the most? Also, don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. We've got more fire content coming your way. Now let's see what these 3 women do with this. Marcus sat at his desk the next morning, staring at his phone. Jerome had been sending updates every few hours, and each notification made his stomach tighten. He opened the first report. Simone. Day 1. The report was thorough, almost painfully so. Receipts, screenshots, GPS coordinates. Simone's spending had begun at 9:47 a.m. First stop, Phipps Plaza. She'd walked into Gucci and dropped $14,000 in 20 minutes. 3 handbags, 2 pairs of shoes, a belt, sunglasses. The security footage showed her laughing with the sales associate, posing for selfies with her purchases. By noon, she was at Saks Fifth Avenue. Another $8,000. Dresses, jewelry, a leather jacket she'd never wear. Lunch was at STK Atlanta with 4 of her girlfriends, women Marcus had never met. The bill: $3,200. Champagne, lobster, Wagyu steaks. One of the friends posted a boomerang video on Instagram. When your man really loves you? Gemstone emoji, sparkles emoji, blessed hashtag living my best life. Marcus's jaw clenched. By evening, Simone had rented a Lamborghini Urus for the week, $12,000, and booked a cabana at a private rooftop pool party, $5,000. Her Instagram story was a montage of excess, bottles popping, designer bags lined up, her laughing in slow motion with the caption, "He said treat yourself, so I did," kissing face emoji, 2 hearts emoji, hashtag spoiled and proud. Total for day 1, $71,000. Not once had she texted him. Not once had she called to say thank you. Marcus closed the report and opened the Janelle. Day 1. Janelle had been more strategic. Her morning started at Exhale Spa, where she'd booked the full-day wellness package. Massage, facial, body scrub, chakra alignment session. Total, $2,400. Then she'd gone to a high-end tailor in Buckhead, ordering 3 custom suits, 2 cocktail dresses, and a cashmere coat. She'd told the tailor, according to the receipt notes, "I have some very important meetings coming up. I need to look like I belong in the room." Cost, $9,800. By afternoon, she was at the St. Regis, where she'd booked a luxury suite for the week, $8,000, and made dinner reservations at Bacchanalia, not alone. Jerome's team had identified her dinner companions, 2 senior VPs from competing tech firms and a venture capitalist Marcus had met twice at conferences. The conversation wasn't recorded, but the body language told the story. Leaning in, laughing, exchanging business cards. Jerome's note at the bottom of the report was blunt: "She's positioning herself, leveraging your name to make connections." Marcus felt a bitter taste in his mouth. Total for day 1, $23,600. Janelle had texted him once, "Thank you again for this, Marcus. I'm making the most of it. You won't regret investing in me." He hadn't. Grace. Day 1. Marcus opened the third report slowly, almost afraid of what he'd find. Grace's day had started at 7:32 a.m. at a small grocery store in her neighborhood, Sam's Meat Market. The receipt showed rice, beans, canned vegetables, chicken, bread, eggs, and a bouquet of daisies. Total, $67. She'd also bought diapers and baby formula. Jerome's note: no children listed in her file. Unsure of recipient. At 9:15 a.m., Grace had walked 4 blocks to Grady Memorial Hospital. Surveillance footage showed her at the billing counter, speaking quietly with a clerk. After several minutes, she'd handed over the black card. Jerome's team confirmed she'd paid off a $4,300 medical bill for a neighbor. The neighbor, a single mother with stage 3 breast cancer. Marcus's throat tightened. At 11 a.m., Grace had visited Children's Haven, a small, underfunded group home on the west side. She'd brought bags of groceries, art supplies, books, and donated $1,500 directly to their operating fund. The director, a woman named Ms. Patricia, had hugged Grace and cried. Then, just before noon, Grace had done something that made Marcus's hands tremble as he read the report. She'd bought 4 hot meals from a soul food spot, fried chicken, mac and cheese, collard greens, cornbread, and walked up and down Mitchell Street, handing them out to homeless men and women sitting on the corners. One man had tried to give her money. She'd refused and told him, according to a bystander Jerome's team had interviewed, "Baby, you keep that. This one's on the house. You matter." Total spending for day 1, $6,183. Marcus set the phone down and pressed his palms against his eyes. She hadn't bought herself anything. Not a single thing. Not new clothes. Not a nice dinner. Not a spa day. Just gave. Drop a like right now if Grace just earned your respect. And comment below if you think Marcus is about to realize he's been looking for love in all the wrong places. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss what happens. By the end of day 3, the reports had piled up like evidence in a trial. And Marcus, sitting in his dimly lit study with a glass of whiskey he hadn't touched, felt like both the judge and the accused. Simone. Final total, $127,000. Janelle. Final total, $54,000. Grace. Final total, $9,340. Marcus didn't sleep that night. Instead, he sat on his balcony, watching the sun rise over the city, and made a decision. He was done pretending, done performing, done letting people wear masks around him. It was time to see who stayed when the lights came on. The dining room had been set for 4, but it felt like a courtroom. The long mahogany table gleamed under the soft light of the crystal chandelier. Fine china, sterling silver, fresh white roses in the center. Everything perfect. Everything cold. Marcus sat at the head of the table in a crisp black suit, no tie, his expression unreadable. To his left sat Simone, draped in a skin-tight red dress that probably cost more than most people's rent. Her lips were painted the color of wine, her locks styled in an intricate updo. She looked like $1 million. Literally. To his right, Janelle, elegant in a tailored cream blazer and black slacks, her hair pulled into a sleek ponytail. She sat with her back straight, hands folded on the table, her face a mask of polite curiosity. And across from Marcus, in a simple gray blouse and black skirt, sat Grace. She looked uncomfortable. Her hands were in her lap, fingers twisting nervously. She'd barely touched the water in front of her. A fourth chair sat empty. Marcus had invited no one else. This was between him. The silence stretched, thick and heavy, until Simone broke it with an exaggerated sigh. Okay. So, she twirled her wine glass. What's this about, babe? You said it was important. Marcus's eyes flicked to hers. It is. Janelle leaned in slightly. Are we celebrating something? In a way, Marcus replied, his voice calm, measured. We're celebrating truth. Grace's head lifted slightly, her eyes cautious. Marcus continued. 3 days ago, I gave each of you something. A black card. Unlimited access. No strings attached. He paused. I told you it was a gift. Simone smiled. And it was a good one. Thank you, baby. But it wasn't just a gift, Marcus said, his voice dropping. It was a test. The room went still. Simone's smile faltered. Janelle's eyes narrowed. Grace's breath hitched. A test? Janelle repeated slowly. I needed to see the truth, Marcus said. Not what you tell me. Not what you show me in person. But who you are when you think no one's watching. Simone set her glass down, her expression shifting to something sharper. Wait, what the hell does that mean? It means, Marcus said evenly, I've been watching. Every purchase. Every location. Every decision. Grace's hands gripped the edge of the table. Simone's face flushed with anger. You spied on me? No, Marcus said. I observed. There's a difference. The hell there is. Simone stood up, her chair scraping loudly against the floor. You gave me a card and told me to enjoy myself, and now you're acting like I did something wrong? I'm not acting like anything, Marcus said calmly. I'm just telling you what I saw. And what did you see? She snapped. Marcus looked at her for a I saw you spend $127,000 in 3 days. I saw you buy things you didn't need. I saw you throw a party for 50 people I've never met. I saw you laugh when your friend mocked a man for stuttering. His voice didn't rise. It didn't need to. And I saw you post it all online like it was a performance. Like I was just a prop in your story. Simone's mouth opened, but nothing came out. You didn't call me once, Marcus continued. You didn't ask if I was okay. You didn't thank me. You just took. Her jaw tightened. So what? I'm supposed to apologize for enjoying myself. You told me to spend it. I did, Marcus said. And you showed me exactly who you are. Which is what? Her voice was rising now. Defensive. Someone who likes nice things? Someone who enjoys her life? Someone who only loves me when I'm giving you something. The words hung in the air like a gunshot. Simone stared at him, her chest heaving. Then she grabbed her purse, her hands shaking. You know what? You're sick. This whole thing is sick. Maybe, Marcus said, but I'm not blind anymore. She looked at him one last time, waiting for him to take it back. When he didn't, she turned and stormed out, her heels echoing violently down the hall. The front door slammed so hard the chandelier swayed. Silence. Marcus turned to Janelle. She was already looking at him, her expression carefully controlled. But her eyes betrayed her. There was calculation there. Janelle, Marcus said quietly. You spent $54,000. You didn't waste it. You invested it. New clothes. New connections. You had dinner with my competitors. You positioned yourself as my partner when you're my assistant. Janelle's lips pressed into a thin line. You told your friend, Marcus continued, that if you played your cards right, you'd be more than my assistant. You'd be my partner. Co-founder. Equity holder. Her face didn't change, but her hands tightened on the table. I've given you 5 years, she said, her voice low and controlled. 5 years of 60-hour weeks. Of fixing your messes. Of making you look good. And you're mad that I want more? I'm not mad that you want more, Marcus said. I'm disappointed that you were building an exit strategy instead of building with me. That's not fair, isn't it? He leaned forward. You weren't investing in US, Janelle. You were investing in your next move. She stood slowly, adjusting her blazer with sharp, controlled movements. You know what, Marcus? You're right. I do want more. I want a seat at the table. I want respect. And if you can't see my value, someone else will. She turned and walked out, her footsteps deliberate and final. The door closed softly behind her. Marcus sat back, exhaling slowly. Then he looked at Grace. She hadn't moved, hadn't said a word. Her eyes were glassy, her hands still gripping. "Grace," he said gently. "I'm so sorry," she whispered. He blinked. "For what?" "For being here. For being part of this. I didn't mean to." "Grace." He reached across the table and took her hand. She flinched slightly but didn't pull away. "You have nothing to apologize for." A tear slipped down her cheek. "I didn't know what to do with the card. I kept thinking, this isn't mine. This isn't for me." "But it was," Marcus said softly. She shook her head. "I saw people who needed it more." "I know." His voice cracked slightly. "I saw everything you did. The hospital bills. The group home. The coats. The food." He paused. "The church donation." Grace's breath hitched. "You gave almost everything away," Marcus continued. "And the one thing you bought for yourself, a $48 dress, you almost didn't buy because you thought it was too much." She looked down, ashamed. "Grace." He squeezed her hand. "Do you know what that says about you?" She shook her head. "It says you're real. You're kind. You see people, not as opportunities, but as human beings who matter." Grace finally looked up at him, tears streaming down her face. "I was so scared you'd think I wasted it." "Wasted it?" Marcus's voice broke. "Grace, you're the only one who didn't waste it. You're the only one who understood what wealth is really for." She wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. "I don't understand what's happening." Marcus stood and walked around the table. He knelt beside her chair, looking up at her. "I've spent years," he said, "surrounded by people who wanted what I have, not who I am. And I was starting to think, maybe that's all there is. Maybe real love doesn't exist at this level, Marcus. But then I saw what you did," he continued, "and I realized I've been looking in all the wrong places. I've been chasing people who shine. But you?" He smiled through his own tears. "You're the light, Grace. You don't reflect it. You are it." Grace covered her mouth, sobbing quietly. "I'm not asking you for anything," Marcus said. "I just wanted you to know. You showed me what I've been looking for. And it was right here. In the quietest place. In the most humble heart." She shook her head. I'm just me." "I know," he whispered. "And that's everything. Y'all, if you're feeling this moment right here, drop a like. Comment Grace if you believe she deserves everything that's coming. And please subscribe if you haven't already. This story isn't over yet, and you're going to want to see where it goes. Let's. The days after the dinner were strange. The penthouse felt different, quieter, but not empty. More like a house that had been holding its breath and finally exhaled. Simone never called. She posted a few cryptic Instagram stories, quotes about knowing your worth and cutting off energy vampires, but within a week, she'd moved on to a new man, a rapper with a chain as thick as a garden hose. Marcus felt nothing when he saw it. No jealousy. No regret. Just relief. Janelle sent a resignation email. Professional, cordial, cold. "Marcus, I've accepted a position with Hartman Ventures as their chief of staff. I appreciate the opportunities you've provided, but it's time for me to build my own path. Best of luck, Janelle." He accepted it without a response. She'd already moved on in her mind weeks ago. He was just making it official. But Grace stayed. Not because he asked her to. Not because he offered her more money or a new title. She stayed because, in her words, "I don't know where else I'd rather be." And slowly, carefully, the walls between them began to come down. It started small. One morning, Marcus found her in the kitchen making breakfast: scrambled eggs with cheese, turkey sausage, grits with butter, and fresh fruit. The smell filled the whole penthouse, warm and familiar, like home. "You didn't have to do this," he said, walking in barefoot, still in his t-shirt and sweatpants. "I know," Grace replied, plating the food. "But I wanted to." They ate together at the kitchen island, not the formal dining room, just the two of them on bar stools, talking about everything and nothing. She told him about growing up in Macon, about her mother's garden, about Sunday dinners that lasted for hours. He told her about his mom, about eating cereal for dinner some nights because that's all they had, about the first time he saw a computer and knew his life would never be the same. "You miss her," Grace said softly. "Every day," Marcus admitted. "She'd be proud, I think. But she'd also tell me I'm working too hard." Grace smiled. "She sounds wise." She was. He looked at Grace. "She would have liked you." Grace's eyes softened. "You think so?" "I know so." If this is touching your heart, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. You know you want to see how this ends. And drop a comment telling me if you think Marcus and Grace belong together. Now let's. Over the next few weeks, something shifted. Marcus started coming home earlier. He declined events he would have forced himself to attend. He stopped checking his phone every 5 minutes. Instead, he found himself present. One evening, he found Grace in the garden on the balcony, kneeling in the dirt, planting herbs. "What are you doing?" he asked, genuinely curious. She looked up, a smudge of soil on her cheek. planting basil and rosemary. Thought it'd be nice to have fresh herbs. You know, we can just buy those, right? She laughed. I know. But there's something about growing it yourself. Watching it come to life. Taking care of something. Marcus stared at her for a moment, then smiled. Can I help? She blinked, surprised. You want a garden? I want to try. So he knelt beside her in his Tom Ford slacks, dirt under his nails for the first time in years, and planted rosemary under Grace's patient instruction. You're doing it wrong, she said, laughing. How am I doing it wrong? I'm just putting it in the dirt. You have to be gentle with the roots. Like this. She guided his hands, her touch soft and sure. Marcus looked at her. Really looked at her. The way the evening light caught her face. The way she smiled when she concentrated. The way her presence made everything feel lighter. Thank you, he said quietly. For what? For reminding me what matters. She met his eyes, and for a moment, neither of them moved. Then she smiled. You're welcome. Word got out, of course. It always does. The blogs picked it up first. Tech billionaire Marcus Daniels spotted with mystery woman. Who is she? Then the gossip sites. From Simone to his housekeeper? Marcus Daniels' new love interest shocks fans. Some of the headlines were cruel. Some were skeptical. A few were hopeful. Marcus didn't care. For the first time in his life, he wasn't performing for an audience. He was living for himself. For her. For them. One night, after a quiet dinner at home, Grace had made jerk chicken, rice and peas, and fried plantains. They sat on the couch together, a movie playing on the screen that neither of them was really watching. Grace, Marcus said suddenly, why did you stay? She turned to look at him. What do you mean? After everything. After the dinner. After Simone and Janelle left. You could have quit. You could have walked away. Grace was quiet for a moment, then said, I stayed because I saw you. Saw me? Yeah. She smiled softly. Not Marcus Daniels, the billionaire. Not the guy on the magazine covers. Just Marcus, the man who misses his mom. Who plants rosemary wrong. She laughed. Who looks at the world like he's still trying to figure out where he fits. Marcus's throat tightened. And I thought, Grace continued, maybe he needs someone who sees him. Not what he has. Just. He reached over and took her hand. You're the first person who ever has. She squeezed his hand. Then I'm glad I stayed. Family, if you're not subscribed yet, what are you doing? Hit that button now because this story is about to take you somewhere beautiful. Comment real love if you believe Marcus finally found it. Let's finish this story strong. 6 months later, the penthouse had transformed. Not in the way money transforms things, with renovations and interior designers and expensive furniture, but in the way a home transforms when love moves in. The cold, sterile spaces had softened. There were photos now. Marcus and Grace at a Falcons game, both wearing jerseys and laughing. Grace with kids from the group home, paint all over her hands. Marcus in the garden, holding up a tomato plant like a trophy. The kitchen smelled like cooking again. The study had 2 chairs now, side by side, where they'd sit and read in comfortable silence. The mansion wasn't just a showcase anymore. It was a home. Marcus had made changes to his life too. He'd stepped back from the day-to-day grind, hiring a new COO to manage operations. He still led the company, but he wasn't drowning in it anymore. He'd started a foundation, the Daniels Family Foundation, focused on 3 things: education, healthcare access, and housing for underserved communities. Grace ran it, not as a figurehead, not as a mascot, as the director of community impact, making real decisions, managing real budgets, creating real change. She'd been terrified at first. Marcus, I don't have a degree in nonprofit management. I don't have connections. I don't. You have something better, he'd said. You have a heart for people. You see the need, and you meet it. That's not something you can teach. So she'd stepped into the role, hesitant but determined. And within months, she'd become a force. She built partnerships with local churches. She worked with HBCUs to create scholarship pipelines. She opened 3 community centers in underserved neighborhoods across Atlanta, offering everything from free childcare to job training to mental health counseling. People loved her. Not because she was Marcus Daniels' partner, because she showed up, listened, and cared. One evening, Marcus came home to find Grace sitting on the floor of the living room, surrounded by papers, her laptop open, glasses perched on her nose. What's all this? He asked, setting down his briefcase. Proposals, she said, not looking up. We got funding offers from 3 different organizations, but I'm trying to figure out which one aligns best with our mission. Marcus sat down beside her. Need help? She finally looked up and smiled. Always. They worked side by side for hours, talking through options, debating priorities, laughing when they got too deep in. At one point, Marcus sat back and just watched her. Completely in her element, confident, focused, alive. What? She asked. noticing his stare. "Nothing," he said. "Just, I'm proud of you." She blushed. "Stop. I'm serious. Look at what you're building." "We're building," she corrected. "No," Marcus said, reaching over to tuck a lock behind her ear. "This is you, Grace. I'm just lucky enough to be along for the ride." She leaned into his touch, closing her eyes. "I never thought I'd be here. Where? Doing something that matters. Feeling like I matter." "You've always mattered," Marcus said softly. "The world just didn't know it yet." Y'all, if Grace's journey is inspiring you, drop a like and share this video with someone who needs to hear that they matter. Subscribe if you haven't, because we're almost at the end, and it's going to be worth it. 2 years later, the garden had grown. What started as a small herb patch on the balcony had expanded into a rooftop oasis. Raised beds full of vegetables, flowering plants, a small seating area with string lights overhead. It had become their sanctuary, the place they came to breathe, to think, to be. Marcus stood there now, hands in his pockets, watching the sun dip below the Atlanta skyline. Behind him, he heard the soft pad of footsteps. "There you are," Grace said, walking up beside him. She wore a simple sundress, her locks pulled into a loose bun, bare feet on the wooden deck. "Just thinking," Marcus said. "About?" He turned to her, a small smile on his lips. "About how much has changed." Grace slipped her hand into his. "Good changes. The best changes." They stood in silence for a moment, the city humming below them, the garden rustling softly in the breeze. "You know," Marcus said, "I used to think success meant having everything. The money, the power, the recognition. And now?" He looked at her. "Now I know success is having someone who sees you, who builds with you, who reminds you why you're here." Grace's eyes glistened. "Marcus." He turned to face her fully, taking both her hands in his. "Grace Thompson, you walked into my life when I was drowning. You didn't try to save me with grand gestures or empty words. You just showed up. Quietly, consistently, kindly." "Marcus, what are you?" He dropped to one knee. Grace's breath caught, her hands flying to her mouth. From his pocket, Marcus pulled out a small velvet box. He opened it to reveal a simple, elegant ring. A single diamond on a gold band, understated and perfect. "I'm not asking you to marry a billionaire," Marcus said, his voice steady but full of emotion. "I'm asking you to marry me. Marcus, the man who burns toast, who plants rosemary wrong, who's still figuring out how to be worthy of you." Tears streamed down Grace's face. "You've taught me what love really is," Marcus continued. "Not what it costs, but what it gives, and I want to spend the rest of my life giving that back to you. Building with you, growing with you." He looked up at her, eyes shining. "Will you marry me?" Grace nodded, unable to speak, tears falling freely. "Yes," she finally whispered. "Yes, Marcus, yes." He stood and slipped the ring onto her finger, then pulled her into his arms. She buried her face in his chest, sobbing and laughing at the same time. "I love you," he whispered into her hair. "I love you too," she said, her voice muffled against him. They stood there, holding each other as the sun set and the stars began to appear. Two people who'd found each other in the most unlikely place. Not in boardrooms or ballrooms, but in the quiet spaces, in the margins, in the truth. If you're crying right now, you're not alone. Drop a like, hit that subscribe button, and comment congratulations for Marcus and Grace. We're almost done, family. 3 years later, the Daniels home, no longer just a penthouse, but a sprawling estate in the suburbs, was alive with sound. Children's laughter echoed through the hallways. The kitchen smelled like Sunday dinner: fried chicken, collard greens, mac and cheese, cornbread. Family and friends filled every room, music playing, love overflowing. Marcus stood in the doorway, watching it all with a quiet smile. Grace walked up beside him, their daughter, 2-year-old Maya, balanced on her hip, reaching for her daddy. "Hey, baby girl," Marcus said, taking her into his arms. Maya giggled and grabbed his nose. "You good?" Grace asked, leaning into him. "Better than good," Marcus said. "This is everything." She smiled. "Yeah, it is." The foundation had grown beyond anything they'd imagined. 20 community centers now. Thousands of families served. Scholarships awarded. Lives changed. But for Marcus and Grace, the real wealth wasn't in the programs or the praise. It was in moments like this. In Maya's laugh. In Sunday dinners with people they loved. In quiet mornings in the garden. In knowing that they were building something that mattered, not just for themselves, but for everyone who came after them. Later that night, after everyone had gone home and Maya was asleep, Marcus and Grace sat on the porch swing, wrapped in a blanket, the stars bright above them. "You know what I realized?" Marcus said. "What's that?" "I spent so much of my life trying to build an empire. But the greatest thing I ever built was this. Us. Our family. Our home." Grace rested her head on his shoulder. "You built it with love. That's the difference. We built it, Marcus corrected. You taught me how. She smiled. We make a good team. The best. They sat in comfortable silence, the night wrapping around them like a blessing. And Marcus thought back to that day. The day he'd handed out those 3 cards, searching for truth. He'd been looking for someone who saw him. What he found was someone who showed him how to see himself. Not as a billionaire. Not as a brand. But as a man capable of love, worthy of love, and surrounded by it. The end. Family, thank you so much for sticking with us through this entire journey. Marcus and Grace's story reminds us that real love isn't about what you have. It's about who you are when no one's watching. It's about showing up, giving freely, and seeing people for who they truly are. If this story touched your heart, please hit that like button. Subscribe so you never miss our weekly stories. Share this video with someone who needs to be reminded that kindness matters. Comment below and tell us, what lesson did you take from this story? We drop new inspirational stories every single week, and trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming next. Until then, remember, the greatest wealth isn't what's in your bank account. It's what's in your heart and who you choose to share it with. Be blessed, family. We'll see you in the